Welcome and thank you for joining NSAR at our first progress update on the Apprenticeship Intermediary service. My name is Sara O'Brien and I'm the lead on the project, and with me is Leeman Robinson, who is the marketing lead in the project team. We expect the webinar to take around 30 minutes. Just to be clear, it's not focused on the aspects. Oh, hang on a second, we've got a technical issue. Sorry about that, we'll pick back up again. We expect the webinar probably to take about 30 minutes. It's not focused on the technical aspects of how we're going to use the apprenticeship service, or how employers or intermediaries use the apprenticeship service, or even the mechanics of how it works. But we're going to focus today instead on providing some background to the project, and insight into how it's progressing, and really just to build on a community of engagement to help scale and help intermediaries help their smaller employers navigate the apprenticeship changes. So do feel free to submit any questions as we go. Depending on time, we will attempt to answer at the end, but we will follow up with an FAQ, which we'll send out by email to you all afterwards. So if I can move on to the next slide. This is the agenda for today. We do have a second and third webinar planned for February and March. So those dates, the 26th and 25th respectively, which we'll send links out for nearer to the time. We do also encourage suggestions so we can help inform future webinars about what's happening regionally in relation to best practice and any events that you've been involved with whilst the intermediary service is up and running. So if we can talk a little bit about NSAR, we're a membership organisation and we're not for profit. Our core business is to provide insight and deliver skills, solutions and services to the rail sector. So we have a sustainable and productive rail workforce. We work with government agencies and departments, and more recently our work has taken us into different sectors. So our services include external quality assurance for endpoint assessment organisations for digital apprenticeships, rail, logistics and care, and soon to be Screen. For those who aren't sure what Screen is, it's broadcasting, media, production and film. Our other services include skills and apprenticeship consultancy, skills intelligence for talent management and career mapping, quality assurer of rail safety training, and strategic workforce planning. Our national training partner network also brings together universities, colleges and training providers to offer NSAR endorsed apprenticeship provision. So if we can tell you a little bit about the Apprenticeship Intermediary service, we'd like to play you a video firstly, just to bring it to life a little bit more visually.
Let's work together to take smaller businesses to the next level, strengthen regional growth, improve social mobility, and create opportunities. From January 2020, the way apprenticeships work is changing for smaller employers. NSAR are here to help you spread the message through the Apprenticeship Intermediary service, providing the information, practical tools, videos, and guidance of what the apprenticeship changes mean for smaller employers in the language that smaller employers understand, so that you can support your local businesses to grow by putting employers in the apprenticeship driving seat. Let's work together to get the pulse of small businesses soaring, increase their understanding of the apprenticeship service, and get their businesses registered to the digital platform from January 2020 and help change the landscape of UK business. Contact us to help your business network thrive with apprenticeships.
So let's just take an overview of what the service is and why it's been developed. There are 2.6 million smaller employers in England, and the ESFA and Department for Education absolutely recognise that to reach this volume of businesses and communicate the way in which these businesses will now have to engage with apprenticeships is a significant task. Now, by scaling this reach and collaborating with intermediary organisations, the reach of those smaller businesses is far more achievable. 60% of the workforce are employed by a smaller employer, and SMEs traditionally have been a big engager with apprenticeships. The introduction of the ESFA's apprenticeship service in January 2020 means that smaller employers will have to register their business to access apprenticeships, find a training provider, and reserve funding with more additional services to come in the future. The benefits of this service for them means that they can manage their apprenticeship account themselves. They get much more access to a broader pool of providers than they did before, and it means it puts them in the driving seat, ensuring that they get best value and return on investment from their training provider partnership. NSTAR were contracted by the ESFA to deliver a centralised support service to intermediaries up until March 2020. The Apprenticeship Intermediary service will provide guides, practical tools, digital videos, and deliver regional events in partnership with intermediaries to raise the awareness and increase the understanding of the changes to apprenticeships. Intermediaries are the key to smaller businesses being handheld through the registration onto the apprenticeship service, and ultimately provide apprenticeships advice and help them manoeuvre their way through the change in landscape. This means we're keen to help ensure intermediary knowledge is sustainable to enable them to confidently continue to support smaller employers from April 2020 onwards. Just wanted to point out that January to March is a transition phase, so apprenticeships can still be accessed either via the apprenticeship service or by accessing funding through training providers who continue to hold non-levy contracts. Our activities will align to ESFA's and our messages will align to ESFA, so we're working very closely with them, delivering events and working with their regional teams in LEP regions and geographical regions to ensure that key messages and activities are aligned. The next slide shows, well, the next section actually will take you through how we've developed our intermediary engagement plan and activities. We have broken down this into 9 clusters in England, which is the way that BAYS and the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network structure their regions. Now, by identifying these as clusters, we can then identify which LEP regions sit within those clusters. So our activity will be based by LEP region. There are 38 LEPs in the country and significantly more intermediaries across the patch. And each LEP region has multiple intermediaries. So in order for us to scale up, it's really important that we can really get a structure behind how we're going to do this. So to mobilise and scale, we've recruited a team of partnership leads who are engaging with intermediaries in their assigned clusters. These partnership leads are already well connected in their regions and are very experienced already within apprenticeships, which means we can respond really well to the tight timescales and fast-paced nature of the project. They will predominantly engage at regional level and certainly disseminate the tools, the resources, information with intermediaries, and they'll attend events to support you as employers and to support you as intermediaries at various different events across their clusters. If I can now pass over to Leeman, who will talk you through some of what you can expect by way of materials.
Hi everyone, I'm Leeman, marketing lead on this project. And as Sara said, we have a number of items and resources which are in development within this project. So firstly, let's talk about the one-page flyer. We developed a flyer which we believe will be many of you have already received and surmises the who, the what, the why of the project. I would encourage you all to share amongst your networks. And if you have not yet received it, please let us know so we can send it to you accordingly. Toolkit. Currently in development and due to launch in mid-February, we are developing a toolkit that operates as a practical resource for employers to use. This will include a guide to the decision-making process, how-to guides, for example, a step-by-step instruction to registering for the apprenticeship service, interview questions, FAQs, and much, much more. We're also developing videos. You've already seen the headline video that we showed at the beginning of this presentation, but we also have a number of other videos in development, particularly around the how-to support intermediaries and give a very succinct and visual aid to convey messages to your employer networks. So keep an eye on our social media platforms as well as our YouTube channel to ensure you don't miss what's next. We also have an events calendar which is being collated. This will contain numerous networking events, apprenticeship specific as well, taking place within the regions to ensure intermediaries have sight of what's going on where and why. The aim is to enable intermediaries to organise their calendars and target events specifically for dissemination of information. Case studies. We have put out a formal request for submission of case studies with the aim of gathering insights from employers and providers to understand their experiences working under the new changes in the apprenticeship service. Please feel free to submit your experiences to the apprenticeship mailbox at apprenticeships@nsar.co.uk. In addition, we are lining up a number of filmed interviews, which we are undertaking some of these this week, in which we will be having representatives from the ESFA and NSAR talk about the project, apprenticeships, and experiences around apprenticeships. Finally, we have a microsite, which we are developing as a hub for all the previously mentioned material. The site will be user-friendly and aims to avoid intermediaries having to search high and low for information that they need. This will go live next week. In the meantime, we've also sent out wide-scale surveys to our members and contacts to understand their experiences within apprenticeships. This will give us key insights into what their thoughts are, what their experiences are, and how we can use that within the process. Now, I'd like to pass you back to Sara, who will share key dates over the next few weeks in the intermediary activity that is taking place.
Thanks for that, Leeman. So the key aims of the project are to deliver events either digitally or physically in each LEP region. And to do that, we've embarked on an intermediary engagement plan. So we have to date positively engaged with 246 intermediaries so far. This slide shows a bit of a breakdown of the types of organisations we're working with, but there is still a whole host of other organisations that you will know at regional level that you can recommend as being an organisation who would be good to get involved in the project. The very least that we're asking for on this is that we have an email contact to add to our distribution list, so resources, information and tools can be shared. The most that we ask for is either to piggyback on existing events that are already in plan or deliver an intermediary masterclass to business advisors, skills advisors and other roles and people of position and organisations who have access to smaller employer audiences. The intermediary masterclasses are interactive, they're engaging, they're fun, they're informative, and we're delivering these either exclusively or collaboratively with a number of intermediaries. We currently have 28 events planned across England, which has only really been in plan since the 6th of January. So far we've had a really positive uptake already. This next slide crudely shows where the gaps are in terms of where we're looking to host events or collaborate on events. So the regions that are highlighted in yellow are areas that we are definitely interested in hearing from. So if you've got any contacts within those regions, please do get in touch with us. It's useful on this next slide, I think, to share our approach to the project. It's important because the timescales are so short that each interaction that we have and our project team have with intermediaries is meaningful and has impact, and we would certainly extend that to you, ensuring that the language that we use in our materials and the language that we use when we speak to smaller employers actually speaks the language of smaller employers and kind of demystifies and de-jargonizes the world of apprenticeships for them. The term smaller employee, probably keep hearing that, and that is quite deliberate. We would normally use the term SME, however, some larger SMEs will be apprenticeship levy payers. So we're being very clear about the end user audience. And ultimately, this is a project that is simply building on the foundations of the apprenticeship changes and ensuring that the knowledge of intermediaries is sustainable beyond the project. So really the hard work begins in April. As part of this contract, we will provide evaluation reports to ESFA and make recommendations as part of the findings to help continue to support our smaller employers, engage with apprenticeships and be fully supported to get on board with the changes. So employer-led apprenticeships are being driven up. This last slide is simply a call to action on how you can get involved. So really looking at knowing how to register the apprenticeship service. So when you're giving the advice and hand-holding your employers through that whole process, that you're comfortable and confident to be able to do that. Understand the changes to apprenticeships for smaller employers and actually what is the impact. So rather being a provider-led apprenticeship program, that employees are equipped with the confidence and the knowledge and the information for them to take it up and take the lead themselves. Organise or get involved in a regional intermediary class. Capture employer case studies, which are really important for this, because we want to try and dispel any confusion around the challenges or the hindrance that employees might feel when it comes to registering their business onto the apprenticeship service. And then also how much involvement they have in the co-creation of content on apprenticeship development with their providers. I think those case studies would be really welcome, particularly for those businesses who have already engaged on the apprenticeship service, but also who've already taken on or is using an apprenticeship to upskill under the new world, and really just to get a testimonial or an understanding of what that experience actually feels like as they're doing it. We're really keen to hear about learnings and share feedback, and we can disseminate that through our microsite, through our digital channels, and obviously join the progress updates via webinars. So February and March, as said earlier, they're in plan for the 26th and 25th. And again, just thinking around your activities and having a call to action on your conversations and your events, and ensuring that there is meaningful step forward for businesses to register onto the apprenticeship service. If you'd like to join our circulation list, which we'd love you to, please do email at apprenticeships@nsar.co.uk to get involved. For more information, we can be back in touch with you fairly quickly. We've got a project team who are working behind the scenes really hard to make sure that the resources and materials and information is readily available. And these slides will be on YouTube afterwards, and the FAQ will be also circulated too. Thank you for your time today, and hopefully we get to hear from you soon.